Welcome to World of Football. In this episode, can India sustain the success of the ISL in its second season? We meet one of world football's most in-demand managers, Frank de Boer. But first up, action from Switzerland, where Basel were looking to extend their lead at the top. With second-placed Grasshopper losing earlier in the day, Basel knew that a win in their fixture at the weekend would open up a 10-point gap at the top of the league. That's easier said than done, however, as they hosted tough opponents in Young Boys. Let's get into the action. Commentary from Matthias Lind.
FC Basel to host last season's runners-up BSC Young Boys. Marek Suchi straight into the path of Lekshaks. Here's Stefan for Hadegonaj. Back for Suleimani in the shots. Blocked by Suchi and then saved. Was it Vachlik or Lang? Mbolo. Sufi. Back for Mbolo with the shot and there you have it. Bril Mbolo and 1-0 for FC Basel. Sufi holding on to the ball and then just playing it back, allowing Mbolo to just place that ball into the back of the net. And great save from Vachlik. Very close. Ball sent in. And the header, and it's hit the post via Vachlik, and Kubo can't believe his eyes. Long ball over for Nutolo. And Mbolo is tracked back in the shots, and well saved by Vachlik. And then I believe that is it. Ball over from Hadegonaj, and Nutolo just losing his footing there. And there you have it, the final whistle. In front of Roger Federer, FC Basel have beaten Young Boys 1-0.
So that narrow win means Basel's dominance continues. The rest of the Super League fixtures this week were also decided by tight margins. FC Sion edged Grasshopper 3-2, while Thun also won by a single goal, beating Lugano 2-1. Elsewhere it was honours even. Lucerne drew 1-1 with Vaduz and Zurich drew 2-2 against St. Gallen. As for how those results affect the table, Basel are now a whopping 10 points clear at the top, while Young Boys remain 2 points behind second place Grasshopper. At the other end, drawing with St. Gallen means Zurich continue to prop up the table with a meagre 9 points from 13 games. Next up, we head north to the Netherlands.
The failure of the Netherlands to reach Euro 2016 not only sent shockwaves through Dutch football, but many of Europe's biggest clubs, fearful that their managers may be lined up to take over the Oranje. One of those clubs is Ajax, where Frank de Boer's name seems to crop up whenever a big job becomes available. It's little wonder, as the former Dutch legend's stock has rarely been higher than now. Although he's coy, it seems a question of when, rather than if, he'll move on from the Dutch giants.
It's every year it comes closer, of course, you know, that I'm looking maybe for another adventure, and I'm still happy I have a contract to 2017, so it's not that I want to leave, but if there is an interesting club that I think, okay, that I can, with my quality, I can make that team better and play his best if they can, then I will take that chance. But, right now I'm only focusing for Ajax, and what's happening in next season we will see. But this year for me it's very important to do well with Ajax, and then we will see.
It was hardly a surprise to see de Boer immediately linked with the Liverpool job before Jurgen Klopp was appointed, and apparently he was also high on the wish list at Newcastle before Steve McLaren took over. After all, he's the first Dutch manager ever to achieve 4 successive titles in the league before Ajax's run came to an end last season. Away from the rumour mill, this year is all about wrestling back the title from last season's winners, PSV.
You expect, you hope that you always be on top of the league in the end of the season. But you know, it's always hard. You saw that before the 4 titles that we get in a row. That it was 7 years we didn't won 1 title, and then suddenly we get 4th.
If last year was a letdown, perhaps an even bigger blow for De Boer came early in the current campaign, when the team fell at the first hurdle in the Champions League against Rapid Vienna.
Well, that you lose against Rapid Wien was a big blow, of course, because we didn't expect that. We knew that Rapid Wien was a good opponent, good side. That it's not easy to win against them. But I think at the end we can only blame ourselves that we didn't went to the next round to qualify for the Champions League.
If there is a positive to come from the Champions League exit, Ajax are already among the favourites to win the Europa League, which now of course guarantees a place in the bigger competition next season, regardless of what happens in the Eredivisie.
Yeah, of course we won that, but it's so hard. If you see the best or the number 3 in the Champions League falls in the European League also after 6 games. So there are so many big teams also in the European League. It's quite hard to win it, but we're going to try to do our best to reach as far as possible. And if you see now our group with Celtic and Fenerbahce and Molde, it's already quite tough, to reach the next round. So first we are focusing on this group, and then we try to get as far as possible. And I think if we are in good shape, we can give every club a hard time.
Unlike all his predecessors in the Ajax hot seat, De Boer faces the eternal problem of having to rebuild his side almost every year, as bigger clubs around Europe swoop for the best players.
The problem with our league is that if you're doing well, and we did quite well the last 5 years, then your best players will go to abroad, to England, to Spain or Germany, and so you have to build every time a new team. And PSV had the best players. They wanted to be champions one time, and like Depay and Wijnaldum, so they stayed for that purpose goal to win that title.
De Boer is a fighter though, something he's proven throughout his career. The most capped outfield player in the history of the Netherlands football team, with 112 caps, he captained the Oranje to the semi-finals of both the 1998 World Cup and UEFA Euro 2000. As a coach and a player, Frank de Boer is made for the big time.
De Boer's Ajax took a great result at the weekend after winning 3-1 away to Vitesse, but their title rivals were also in fine form, with PSV coming away 3-1 winners from FC Twente and Feyenoord winning by the same scoreline at home to AZ. Excelsior, Utrecht and Heracles all won by a single goal, while a string of draws made up results elsewhere. It's neck and neck at the top of the table, with Ajax and Feyenoord still level on points, while defending champions PSV are only 4 points behind. Minno's Heracles continue to punch above their weight in 4th, but at the other end of the scale are De Graafschap, with only 2 points in 10 games. Next, the title decider in Finland. In the final week of the Veikkausliiga, 3 teams could theoretically still win the title: SJK, HJK from Helsinki and Rovaniemi. Leaders SJK had it in their own hands though. A win at home to bottom side Jaro would give them the gold. Commentary from Lee Roden.
Can SJK get an early lead here? It would be a dream start in this vital match. Ball swung in. Poor defending, the header goes in. Mehmet Hetanay, who got the final touch. And it's an unbelievable start for SJK. 2 minutes, 1-0 up. Long ball out. The defenders misjudged his tackle there. This could be a big chance. Well, it's a good save from the keeper in the end. Ball spread out to the left wing. It's a nice cross in. Oh, he's missed it. Slaps the ground in despair. SJK just need to hold on, but they're going for another attack. Risky on the ball. Out to Laaksonen. Is the move going to break down? He's still got the possession. into the box. It's a nice turn, and there's a goal. Well, Risky wraps it up. Surely for SC Koa, they're heading for their first ever league title. It's a great finish, great composure in the box too. Two defenders around him, still found some space and then tucked it away. And the referee blows the whistle, and they've done it. SC Koa have won their first Finnish league title. Hoisting the trophy into the air, jubilation for SC Koa.
A brilliant result for SJK, and they needed it too, as both of their title rivals also took 3 points. Rovaniemi won 4-1 away to Lahti, while HJK claimed a 1-0 victory from Kuopio. Elsewhere, Mariehamn and HIFK both won at home, while Ilves beat KTP 2-1. A spectacular day for SJK, who took their first ever league title, only 2 years after being promoted to the Finnish top flight. Rovaniemi trailed them by only a single point in the end, while HJK finished 2 points behind in third. Coming up after the break, we look at the growing popularity of football in India with the ISL in its second season. We've got goals galore from Asia, and the two Sydney sides lock horns in the A-League derby. Welcome back to World of Football. In part 2, high-scoring action from the J-League. In India, can the second season of the ISL help the game grow further? But first up, it's Derby Day in Sydney. A capacity crowd of over 40,000 filled the Allianz Stadium in Sydney for the first local derby of the year. The hosts, Sydney FC, are in the sky blue.
Moscow, and they're going to have a shot here, which is only just flashing wide from Milos Ninkovic. The 2 minutes of stoppage time almost up, bit of space here for Nichols, who floats it in. Oh, there's the goal! The Wanderers in first half stoppage time, or is it? No, flagged up. Flag is up against Josh Sotirio, and the celebrations are cut short. Vidicic, good first touch, takes it towards goal, rides a challenge. Dario Vidicic, good effort, beaten away by the goalkeeper. Nichols on the follow-up, and the Wanderers will have a corner. Oh, good first touch, Pio Vicari inside the box, and that's a really good challenge by Matt German to deny him a clear shot at goal. Flicks it infield for Jamison. It's a tester for Janjetovic, who spilled it. Heart-in-mouth moment for Graham Arnold and co. Back with O'Neill. Now it's found its way through for Ninkovic! Could have won the derby for the Sky Blues with just 3 minutes to go. The Serbian! Superb finish! And the Wanderers went to sleep just for a moment. Was fatal. The full-time whistle goes. Milos Ninkovic's late strike wins it for Graham Arnold's team. Sydney FC 1, Western Sydney Wanderers 0.
A photo finish to a thrilling derby with that late winner for Sydney FC. In the other fixtures, there were good results for Melbourne City and Perth Glory, who both won 3-1 at home, while Wellington Phoenix edged Brisbane Roar 3-2 and Newcastle Jets scraped a 1-0 win over Melbourne Victory. After 3 rounds, Sydney FC are top of the table by an inch, with Brisbane Roar, Wellington Phoenix and Newcastle Jets all close behind. Champions Melbourne Victory have gotten off to a surprisingly slow start as sit 6th. And after losing the derby, Western Sydney prop up the table with a single point. Next up, a look at the continuing growth of football in India.
When the second season of India's ISL kicked off recently, the big question was whether it can sustain the huge strides made in its Premier campaign. No one would argue that the opening campaign delivered on its promise. Crowds averaged some 26,000 per game, making it the world's fourth most popular league, behind only the Bundesliga, the Premier League and La Liga in Spain. The opening game drew 65,000 supporters to Atletico Kolkata's match against Mumbai City, which was also watched on TV by 74.7 million people. Can they keep the momentum going though?
Look, the first season was a new experience for the fans. It was very entertaining for them. They wanted to see what it was all about. But I think there will be even more crowds this year. There are more ads. There are even bigger names coming into the league. Players that we could only see on TV. Now we can see them on our own doorstep.
Television plays an absolutely crucial role in the development of the league, bringing with it not just revenue, but a hype that has grown and grown.
The Indian TV audience did exist. You had some of the bigger clubs. It's definitely bought visibility. It's bought a lot of glamour. It's bought a certain sheen. Without the corresponding quality, now you need the fusion of international talent coming in, working with our players, and that generating a progeny of a better talent within those sides. If that happens, there is hope. Otherwise, we're just going to be a viewership audience and not necessarily a playing audience.
The ISL definitely didn't disappoint in terms of entertainment. The title was decided in fittingly dramatic fashion when a goal by Mohammad Rafiq in the dying seconds of the final won the Indian Super League title for Atletico Kolkata. The first season's success has brought not just a TV audience with it, but on the streets for the first time you're seeing more and more kids wearing ISL team shirts. The future audience and team is already being harnessed.
It is very rewarding to see children wearing jerseys with my name on it, or recognizing me on the streets of Kolkata. I feel good about it. We now have an identity. This is good for Indian football, as we now have a strong fan base.
The clubs have a delicate balancing act of wanting to attract star names for the glamour they bring, but also needing to think longer term. Most of the big name players drafted in are certainly nearing the end of their careers. Florent Malouda and John Arnorisa at Delhi Dynamos, for example, are both 35. But interestingly, the same club recruited 21-year-old Adil Nabi, who was West Bromwich Albion's Young Player of the Season last year, and became in the summer the first player to move directly from a Premier League club to the ISL. Retaining the hype while edging towards sustainability will be quite a challenge.
And I think the mind space is also being created interestingly around brand, around hype, around organization, the launch, the opening ceremony, the tamasha, the fireworks, but not necessarily quality of football. I haven't seen a single video clip being circulated on WhatsApp which says great goal in ISL, watch and rewatch or forward. Not a single. And that says something.
Of course, despite TV numbers averaging 29 million per match, the biggest obstacle comes from another game entirely, cricket. It's hard to overestimate just what the game means in India, and no one predicts football will ever reach #1 spot. But it doesn't necessarily have to. It just needs to find a way of growing and coexisting. And the ISL, in its successful format and eye-catching entertainment value, seems to be winning the hearts of the people.
India is a country which has clearly there is a bipolarity, cricket being #1. So I think there's always room for an ISL to be a #5. There is no #2, #3, #4 in India. It's all #5. So effectively, you don't have cricket. Well, actually, you do have it all the year round. But in case you need an alternative from cricket, ISL could well figure.
In Japan, Matsumoto Yamaga hosted Sagan Tosu in a bottom-of-the-table scrap. Commentary from Lee Roden.
Ball whipped into the box, and that's a penalty. Terrible defending from Sagan Tosu. And in a tight game, that could be costly. Referee pointed to the spot, no hesitation. Sabina steps up, tucks it away. Great conversion from the striker. Goalkeeper plays it in long. There's a flick on, and what a finish! Well, that was as beautiful a goal as you'll ever see. Hiroyuki Taniguchi with the improvised finish. Neat little back heel. Hit and hope stuff from Sagan Tosu, but it worked. What a goal. Could there be a late twist in the tail here? The away team pouring forward. That's a lovely pass, and there's a finish. That looks like it should be the winner. Kota Misunuma applied the finishing touch to a wonderful build-up from Sagan Tosu. Wasn't a great attempt at a defensive clearance at all, but the end product there was beautiful. Great first time pass into space there, and a neat finish. Referee looks at his watch, and that's that. A winner in the dying minutes for Sagan Tosu. 2-1 away winners at Yamaga.
Nagoya Grampus were at home in our other J-League fixture this week, with visitors Albirex Niigata fighting against relegation.
Albirex Niigata looking to launch a counter-attack. It's a great ball into space. Ryohei Yamazaki playing on the shoulder of defenders. Quick feet. And what a finish. Great play from the number 10. Wonderful composure in the box. It was a great run to start the move off. And then as he got closer to the goal, produced a lovely little feint there just to wrong foot the defender, open up the space, and tucked it away. Perhaps not the best defending, the only criticism, but still, great vision. And there's a strange turn towards his own area there. Well, that was horrific defending. And at the end, a penalty's awarded to Nagoya Grampus. Not how to play when you're just outside your own area. Kensuke Nagai tucks it away. There's the equaliser. Well, that's decent hold-up play. Picks out the midfield runner, and there's the goal. Taishi Taguchi drives his shot into the net after a great run from midfield. And Nagoya Grampus, after being 1-0 down, are now 2-1 ahead. Ball out to the wing here. Hiroshi Ibusuki. Well, there's a shot and a goal, and that's the equaliser for Albirex Niigata, but it was terrible defending. The ball flicked on to the forward out in the wing. He thinks he needs to pick out a cross, sees the defence is static and just has a go. I mean, surely the Nagoya Grampus defence could have done better there. Cheap equaliser to concede. A nice weighted ball out wide, and what can Nagoya Grampus come up with? That's a good cross, and there's a finish at the near post. Kengo Kawamata may just have won it for Nagoya Grampus at the death. Had no time to think about it, took it well. Albirex Niigata have been piling bodies forward, but they could get caught out. It's a good run, and what's the keeper doing? And will the ball creep in? Looks like it. Kensuke Nagai puts the game beyond doubt for Nagoya Grampus, but dear me, Albirex Niigata with a calamity of errors, first from the defender and then some of the worst goalkeeping you'll ever see. Horrible all round. But Nagoya Grampus will take it. And 4-2, the final score for the home team.
A feast of goals at Nagoya Grampus then, and there was another high-scoring match at FC Tokyo, where Urawa Reds won 4-3. Shonan Bellmare downed Kashima Antlers 2-1 in the shock of the weekend, and Sanfrecce Hiroshima took advantage with a 2-0 win over Ventforet Kofu. Mino's Shimizu S-Pulse lost for the 5th time in a row after collapsing 3-0 against Kashiwa Reysol. As for how that impacts the table, Sanfrecce Hiroshima opened up a 3-point lead on Kashima Antlers at the top, while Yokohama F. Marinos are now only 3 points behind Antlers in third. At the other end, there is still only 4 points between the 4 lowest placed teams, who all lost their fixtures at the weekend. And that's all we've got time for on this week's World of Football. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.